Imagine this for a moment. You're watching the most famous shipwreck movie ever made, tears in your eyes as Jack slowly slips beneath the freezing Atlantic. But what if I told you that almost everything you think you know about the Titanic barely scratches the surface? What if the real story is packed with secrets so dangerous they've been kept out of public view for more than 100 years? Today, we're going far beyond what the cameras ever showed, uncovering the hidden truths about the Titanic that were never meant to be seen. We're talking about powerful cover-ups, strange passengers who vanished from official records, and evidence suggesting this wasn't just a tragic accident, but something far darker. By the end of this video, you'll never see that sinking ship the same way again. But before we reveal these shocking secrets, make sure you hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear could completely change how you understand one of the most famous disasters in history. Let's begin with something that might blow your mind. When James Cameron was creating his blockbuster film, he had access to more Titanic research than almost anyone alive. Yet there were specific parts of the ship, certain stories, and even passenger lists he was told not to touch. Why? Because some truths are considered too dangerous for the public to know. The first secret starts with the passenger list itself. You've heard about the wealthy elites on board, people like John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim. But what you haven't heard about are the individuals who were quietly erased from official records after the sinking. People whose names disappeared from survivor accounts, death certificates, and even original passenger logs. One of these individuals was a mysterious man traveling under the name J.P. Rothschild. Before you dismiss this as wild conspiracy talk, consider this. Multiple survivors recalled interacting with this man, yet his name appears nowhere in the official White Star Line documents. Even more unsettling, several survivors claimed he seemed to know what was coming, warning select passengers to stay dressed and prepared throughout the night of April 14th. And this is where the cover-up deepens. Take a look at the ship's cargo manifest. Everyone knows about the luxury items and personal possessions that went down with the Titanic. But what about the cargo that was never declared? What about the strange crates loaded in Belfast under the cover of darkness just days before departure? According to dock workers who spoke decades later, several unmarked wooden crates were placed deep in the lower cargo holds. These crates were handled with extreme care and guarded by men who didn't appear to be White Star Line employees. When investigators later tried to track these shipments, they hit nothing but dead ends. The paperwork was gone, and the companies involved claimed complete ignorance. But as strange as the cargo was, it's nothing compared to what was happening in the first-class sections that films never show. The Titanic wasn't just transporting passengers, it was also hosting some of the most powerful people on the planet. Hidden rooms and private areas existed that never appeared on public deck plans. Spaces reserved for meetings that would influence global finance and politics for decades. One survivor, who chose to remain anonymous years later, claimed that on the night of April 13th, a secret meeting took place in one of these private areas. According to this account, influential bankers and industrialists were discussing plans that would eventually lead to the creation of the Federal Reserve. The timing wasn't random. These discussions needed to happen far from public scrutiny. Here's where the story turns darker. Some researchers believe certain elite passengers were aware of serious flaws in the ship's design. Naval engineers at the time knew that the Titanic's rivets, especially in the bow, were made of substandard materials. This knowledge wasn't public, but those with the right connections could access it. So if some people knew the risks, why board the ship at all? The answer may lie in insurance policies and financial deals surrounding the Titanic. The ship was insured for far more than it cost to build, and several key investors had taken out massive life insurance policies shortly before the voyage. When you follow the money, the picture becomes unsettling. Here's an even more chilling detail. Several powerful opponents of centralized banking were on board that night. Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, and John Jacob Astor were all outspoken critics of the Federal Reserve System. Their deaths conveniently removed major obstacles to financial changes certain groups were pushing for. And the timing raises eyebrows. The Federal Reserve Act passed in 1913, just 1 year after the Titanic sank. With key opposition figures gone, resistance to the legislation was dramatically reduced. But what if the collision itself wasn't entirely accidental? Multiple survivors described seeing strange lights in the distance before the iceberg strike. These weren't auroras or standard ship signals. Witnesses spoke of coordinated flashing lights that appeared to guide the Titanic onto a specific path. Navigation decisions that night only add to the mystery. Despite receiving repeated ice warnings, the Titanic maintained its speed. Captain Edward Smith, a seasoned veteran of Atlantic crossings, made choices that survivors later described as completely out of character. Some claimed he seemed under pressure, often consulting with passengers who had no authority over navigation. Then there's the issue of the binoculars. The lookouts in the crow's nest later testified that their binoculars were locked away. When they asked for the key, they were told it couldn't be found. That small detail may have been the difference between spotting the iceberg in time and the disaster that followed. And what about the ship that could have helped? The Californian was close enough to respond, yet it didn't. Official reports said the radio operator was asleep, but survivors recalled seeing a nearby ship whose lights appeared to be moving away. Later evidence suggests the Californian may have received and acknowledged distress signals, but failed to act. Why would a captain ignore an SOS unless he was told to? Even the rescue effort raises questions. The Carpathia arrived quickly, but its passenger logs contain unexplained gaps. Several individuals present during the rescue don't appear in official records. These so-called ghost passengers seem to have authority and access they shouldn't have had. The distress calls themselves are also suspicious. Different versions of the SOS messages exist, some including details about cargo and passenger information later removed from official transcripts. Why would such details be included unless the messages were meant for specific listeners? Wireless logs recovered years later reveal even more. They show communications with ships and shore stations that were never mentioned in official investigations, some occurring hours before the collision. This suggests the Titanic's fate may have been discussed long before the iceberg was hit. Photography during the rescue was tightly controlled. Cameras were operated by individuals connected to the White Star Line, and survivors reported having their film confiscated. The official excuse was privacy, but the scale of confiscation suggests something far more intentional. Physical evidence vanished just as quickly. Lifeboats were sold or disposed of, and wireless equipment was dismantled before independent experts could examine it. It's as if someone was racing to erase the trail. Survivor testimonies show signs of manipulation too. Many later claimed they were coached on what to say, and that their statements were altered before becoming official. Those who described strange or suspicious events were ignored or discredited, while voices supporting the official story were amplified. Insurance records add another layer. Claims were paid out with shocking speed for a disaster of this scale. Normally, investigations take years. Here, everything moved quickly, almost as if the outcome had already been decided. Financial data from the time reveals that several major investors sold White Star Line stock shortly before the voyage, despite strong public confidence in the ship. It's hard not to wonder whether they knew something was coming. Even the ship's technology holds secrets. The Titanic's wireless system was far more advanced than most people realize, capable of coded messages and multiple simultaneous communications. This suggests the ship may have been serving purposes beyond passenger transport. And even the musicians have unanswered questions surrounding them. They weren't randomly chosen performers, but men with connections to elite circles. Some believe their final music may have carried coded meaning for those listening nearby. When you connect all these dots, a disturbing conclusion emerges. The Titanic disaster may not have been a simple tragedy, but a carefully engineered event designed to remove key figures, destroy evidence, and reshape financial power. Those who died weren't just unlucky victims, they may have been targets. These truths were never meant to reach the screen. The romantic story and heroic myths serve as distractions from a reality filled with conspiracy, manipulation, and silence at the highest levels of power. So the next time you watch that movie or hear the familiar Titanic story, remember, you're seeing only what you're allowed to see. The real story lies far beneath the surface, hidden in icy waters and buried records. If this video made you question history, subscribe for more deep dives into the truths they don't want you to know. And tell me in the comments which historical events you think deserve this kind of investigation. The truth is out there, but sometimes you have to dive deep to uncover it.